Hello, chefs. Good evening. We are back again. I am Isaiah, the young Jedi chef, here with the Dragon Warrior chef, German Lamb, and the Phoenix Warrior chef, Noreen. We will be your host for today's podcast. You are listening to a unique podcast where we will discuss tough yet real topics that need to be heard in the industry. In this podcast, you will hear the truth, real, raw, and unfiltered. Today, we have the honor of having Chef Ali with us to talk about changes that need to be made in the hospitality industry and how we can improve the industry for its workers. I'm excited to get started and jump right in. So without further ado, I will let the star of our show, our guest, Chef Ali, introduce himself. Chef Ali.
Hi, my name's Ali. I've been in the industry for over 38 years now, and there hasn't been anything I haven't done. Studied at the CCA, California Culinary Academy in San Francisco, and did many master trainings back at the CIA in Napa Valley. For the last 20 years, I try to go back every 2 years and learn about ethnic foods from the Pac Rim to Indian food, and try to update myself, just like a doctor does. A chef should always keep himself up with the trends and try to get into food chemistry and manufacturing at the same time. I've also worked at 4 different movie studios, several hotels, private restaurants, catering events, and corporate dining across the U.S. So I probably traveled to over 38 states and worked in those states, understanding their types of cuisine, their culture, and there's culture behind food, every food from El Salvador to Philippines to New York style, from Texas barbecue to Memphis and to North Carolina. So you get educated by the employees that you work with. So I always keep an open mind, and I listen to somebody that's just started out, to somebody that's been a mom that's been cooking her whole entire life, that has culture behind it, because that's the true learning. Now, at my age, we're no longer students, we're teachers.
Yeah, that's so true. Thank you so much, Chef Ali. And you're definitely well versed in this industry and kind of have put your hands everywhere. So we really appreciate you being here today. Really means a lot. So we're just gonna get started and jump right in. So depression, anxiety, loneliness, sadness, verbal and physical abuse, distress, overworked, burnt out, unappreciated, not recognized. The list can go on and on. These are terms that are often associated with workers of the hospitality industry. Too often, stories are told of people losing hope for the industry and leaving it completely. Although this might be hard to hear and tough to talk about, it is something that must be heard and addressed. Mental health and the well being of those that choose to selflessly serve others is extremely important. The association and connection of the hospitality industry and the words I mentioned must be put to a stop. The first step is to remember why you chose this industry and remember the love and passion you had for it when you first got started. So that's going to lead us on to our first question. Why did you choose to become a part of the hospitality industry and dedicate your life to positively impacting the life of others? Chef Ali, you want to get us started with that one?
Well, the one thing about this industry that's changed so much, it's a competition, and it's all ran corporate now. Now, when I started, I wanted to be a chef. When they told me I had to work 80 hours a week, I didn't care. When they told me the horrible stories about working 18 hours, 30 days straight, it didn't bother me. I loved it. I wanted that excitement. I wanted that thrill. But unfortunately now it's no longer about the food. It's no longer about the passion. And you see these food shows, they're competing. They're asking you to go and compete against other chefs and destroy the other chef and make them look bad, and demolish their food if you can, take away products. So all these different food shows. Now, food is all about giving. It's about sharing, giving an experience. And we're not doing that no more. When you think about it, the old Caesar salad was the hearts. The plate was chilled. The fork was chilled. That dressing was made from scratch. Now you go to a restaurant, it's food service romaine greens with a jarred, dressing. The plate is warm. There's no emphasis on fresh Parmesan cheese. You're getting bagged processed from Parmesan cheese. That's just one example. But basically, we've taken the passion, we've taken what we do, and we're taking the quality out of the restaurant industry. And we're fast casual came aboard in the late 80s, started by Wolfgang Puck, but it's just excelled.
Mhm.
so much. And I don't care what you say and what you see on Instagram and all this social media. It's all facade.
Mhm.
What comes down is the bottom line, what's happening across the US and what we're doing with processed foods and quick and easy and bottom line.
Mhm.
There is no more passion behind it. And we
Mhm.
have to get that to change.
Yeah, I love what you touched on is the passion came out of the food. And I can kind of see that on what you said, especially with the Caesar salad. It's supposed to be an experience. Every little thing that every dish that you serve should be a experience that you have with the food. And when the plate, like you said, comes out with the warm plate and the salad, it's kind of laziness, it's lack of passion, and it's lack of desire to wanting to put out the best product forward. And all the small details really matter, especially like when you have a love for something. You should want to put your best foot forward and do every single thing that'll make the guests have the best experience possible. So I love what you said on that, or the passion needs to come back. People need to remember why they got started, and that'll kind of drive them to every day do something better, every day stick to the standards that they once had. So I love that point, Chef. Thank you so much. um Noreen or Chef Lam, you kind of want to add to that?
Sure. Honestly, the reason that I pivoted into the hospitality and food industry is because of passion. I found that I love to help people and to bring positivity. And you can do that in many, many ways in different careers. But I found that one thing that connects us all as human beings is food. And part of the culture I grew up in Middle Eastern culture, food is the way that you show love. And I just found that bringing that full focus into my life is really what drives me. And, hearing you, Chef Ali, talk about the processed foods, that's a big thing that I want to explore more because I think it's a mistake that we are pushing more and more process, process, process. I think there's a lot of issues with our health and our wellness and what we're gaining from the experience of eating as well, by replacing the simple and beautiful techniques of cooking with something that comes, out of a jar. There's nothing wrong with convenience. It can help with our busy lifestyles, but refocusing why we're eating and what it represents, and what we're putting into our bodies is very important. And the best way to do that is through hospitality. So I came in with this passion to hopefully see some change. And I don't, I'm very big on not focusing on the lab food and the processed things and everything dried and packaged. And, what happened to, like Chef said, a beautiful Caesar salad, delicious meal. But when the dressing is made from scratch and when the croutons are toasted in house, and all of that is very important as part of the experience. So that's why I came into the food industry. It's really the true deepest passion that I have. And it's a great um, pathway to create positive change in health and wellness in the world as well is through food. So I
And
really love that passion talk. It's really important. I think in the corporate world we don't really talk about it as much anymore. It's just checking boxes on a sheet and not really bringing you as a person into the work that you're doing every day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I want to say that, like, as chefs, we have the power, like you said, to change lives. Kind of what we do every day is we're making decisions not only for our health, but for the health of the people that we serve as well. And we know exactly what's going into the food, and we're making that decision when we put it on the plate, if it's a good thing or if it's a bad thing. So we have that power as a chef. And I think, like you said, if the passion is there, you should have the desire to want to make everything from scratch and kind of learn that process, not take shortcuts, and because every step in the process matters. Chef Lam, you want to kind of add to that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know what? I was blessed and fortunate to start my journey in the culinary world when I graduated from culinary school, and I worked at the Ritz-Carlton, Boston. And that's where you talk about old school. And when you talk about the Caesar salad, well, um, the wait staff, the waiters, what do they do? Tableside service, They had all the ingredients and they would make the Caesar salad right in front of you. And yes, we did have a cold plate. So far as when it comes to passion, and especially where we are today and how it changed, and I look at it and I call it is a system, you know. there's a reason why the system has evolved and changed. But now what I concentrate on in our industry as a chef is body, mind, spirit, and food, right? How do you strengthen the body? How do you have your mind where, you know, when you're in the kitchen and, you know, there's, you know, tension, you know, there's speed, you know, sometimes there's yelling, you know, but then your spirit, right? Your spirit can't be broken because someone doesn't know how to communicate to a coworker, you know. Then food is probably the best one, right? There's food addiction, right? You have drugs, you have alcohol, you have food that, you know, doesn't turn you into a, you know, athlete, you know, instead it turns you into a chef Boyardee. So what I teach is those fundamentals right there, you know, postures, you know, meaning how do you stand when you're in a station, whether it's the cold side, hot side, or prep side, right? Because you're on your feet pretty much 7.5 hours a day, you know, for an hourly employee. And once you teach them how the posture is and how to move the wrists, the elbows, you know, the body. And the reason why I mentioned these areas, because, you know, I took martial arts, and in martial arts, the number one thing was your stand. Your horse stand was the key element. And when you got the horse stand where it needs to be, now you're able to learn. So to me, it's something that I call that the basic, you know, is, and I believe we don't teach that, you know, the culinary schools do not teach that. You know, they teach the X and O's, but they don't teach how are you able to endure the environment culture of a hot kitchen.
Yeah, I agree. Like not everybody can endure that, and your soul, your body, your mind, and spirit ought to be in line in order to be able to handle the pressure of the daily task of working in the kitchen. It's not easy, you know, getting yelled at, you know, having to hold yourself to a high standard every day, working in that hot kitchen. But if your body, mind, and soul are in line, then everything will all flow and work together. So thank you so much, Chef Lamb, for that. It's important to remember why and how you fell in love with this industry and what drives you to come back to work every day. Clearly, the industry that we're in is not perfect and is not fit for the weak or faint of heart. However, this does not excuse a lot of the problems that workers in the hospitality industry are facing today. What are some of the biggest problems that you see or face in the hospitality industry, and how do you think they can be solved or should be resolved? Chef Ali, you want to start us off on that one?
This is a very complex question, and it can be broken down in several different ways, but I'm going to start minor on one piece. So first of all, back in 2005, the government came out with E-Verify, and that got rid of a lot of passionate, hardworking 20, 30-year chef veterans, cooks in the industry, just in hospitality for general. So basically, once they started verifying everyone's social security, everyone got laid off. There was by the thousands. So that's where we struggled to find help. And that's when the food industry started falling. And a lot of people don't recognize this or remember this and remember that time that cooks were just disappearing off the line left and right, and seasoned cooks. So now we had to start from scratch. Okay. On top of that, right now, the industry is being bullied. Although we need millions of food service workers across the United States, we can't find them. I was just on the Northeast in the last 2 years, and the temp agencies don't have enough people. They're looking for people left and right, and they're paying these hotels and restaurants are paying an amazing amount of money to these temp agencies, almost $50 an hour, plus overtime. These temp cooks are going out and making a fortune at $35 an hour plus overtime, and I don't know how these corporate hotels can afford to keep paying these wages, but they are, because they're desperate. Otherwise, their business is going under and they have no cooks. And that is one of the problems out there. But on top of that, you do have managers out there that don't understand this, that they're a part of the older generation, the younger generation's coming in, and they're belittling them. They'll cut the wait staff hours. There's harassment in the workplace. There's way too much harassment nowadays. I mean, you thought that this day and age with the lawsuits and everything else, it would cut down, but it's getting worse. So you're seeing a lot of bullying, a lot of, I've seen all kinds of HR things over through the years. I've been in court left and right. And a lot of it was always HR that was the main problem, you know, and I can tell you stories that can go on for hours. But until management acknowledges that they are the problem and make the changes and understand the industry and the new generation and how they have to react to the new generation, they have to have hanging carrots to incentivize their employees. They have to have training programs, and they're not training them. They throw them in there, walk away. They belittle them, you know, train, have daily briefings, get them involved, make them a part of a team. And that's not happening. You know, in the old days, you know, the cooks would go in there and the chef would scream and yell at them. You might cry, you may not, but you do the, it's not this time and age anymore. Now we have to go in there. We do have to show them. We do have to train them. We do have to communicate production sheets, recipes. This is what the new generation is looking for. Without that, they're walking around and they're going to the highest bidder. So then they'll leave to the next job and the next job. And that's why it's like musical chairs with cooks. And they're just rotating jobs every 3 months to 6 months. You know, they don't want to be treated like this. So what is the solution? Well, management. They have to make sure that they understand what harassment in the workplace is and how to retain employees, and not just say, well, it's not our fault, we just can't keep employees. They're making excuses. Instead of trying to find solutions out there, they're the ones creating the problems. So the employee, I understand going to the highest bidder, but they're not going to go work at a place making $28, $30 an hour, even if they made 23 or 25, $3 or $4 less as a line cook, if the environment is well suited for them, if they're happy. That extra $1 or $2.
Yeah, I love that point, and I love how you said it starts from the top. It starts with management, and like you said, with the new generation, it's not like the old generation where the new generation, they won't put up with I guess with the mistreatment. You know, they'll move somewhere else. They're not afraid to move somewhere else and leave and do something different if they're feeling mistreated in that way. So I think, like you said, managers at the top, they need to understand, okay, we need to go about a different way on how to train this new generation, on how to mentor them, on how to motivate them to want to do better every day. And yes, it is a lot more work. It takes more time, but at the end of the day, you retain more employees. And like you said, the money part could be compromised a little bit if the work environment is better. And even from personal experience, I've experienced that, you know, if I'm in a work environment where I feel safe and feel like the people care, you know, the money will come. But if I'm in a toxic place, I'm not going to want to work there regardless. So it's kind of like, you got to have that balance, and it's important for managers to really understand that. So thank you so much for that, Chef. Noreen or Chef Lamb?
Yeah, there's this quote that I hear a lot from people, not just in the food industry, but in other industries as well. People don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad managers. And I think that it's very true. Feeling safe and taken care of and trained, being given the tools for success in the workplace is very important. There have been places I've worked at or did some time there, and I'm like, okay, so where's your recipe book? There is no recipe book, or it's outdated. Okay, where's your prep sheet? There is no prep sheet. Okay, do you have a to-do list? No to-do list. And for me, walking in first, second, third day, how am I supposed to, all I'm doing now is just running around following you in the kitchen, which is fine for a first day. But after a couple of days, I'm creating my own list so that I make sure that I'm successful when I come in and I use my time wisely. So having those tools, like Chef Ali mentioned, coming down from management would be very, very helpful and kind of transform efficiency in the workplace as well. And it gives you a sense of purpose when you know you have something that you can do. It's written right there. You're doing it correctly. Because something else that I've seen is you learn a recipe or a method from one person, and then it's very different for the next person. And then the next person that teaches me is different and different and different. And different perspectives are excellent to have in my arsenal. But I also want to know, like, what is the recipe? What is the proper way to do this for this restaurant or this food service outlet? So seeing that, it's been challenging sometimes. So I love that Chef Ali brought that. And I think also something is an issue I see is more personal. It's more the lifestyle outside of the kitchen. So what are you doing to reset yourself and come in with a positive mindset every day? Um, that I don't see very much of. It's a lot of, okay, after work, where are we getting drinks? Where are we getting drinks? Where are we getting drinks? What are you doing on your day off? Nothing. Okay. So we're not enriching ourselves personally so that we're growing as people as well and resetting ourselves so that we come in with a fresh mind. And that's something that will take a toll on the mind and the body after some time. And if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. That was a big thing we had in healthcare. If you're not well, you can't make other people well. And I think that carries into hospitality as well because, we're here to serve, create, beautiful dishes and amazing service for people. So if you're not doing that for yourself, how are you going to do that for someone else? It's not going to last very long. So I think finding a balanced lifestyle is also very, very important.
I love what you said about the balanced lifestyle, Noreen. And like you said, if at work you're doing stuff to or at work you're not doing stuff to help your body, and then out of work you're not doing stuff to help your body, it's kind of, you won't be at your maximum potential, and it'll take not only you down, but it'll take the rest of the team down. Because if one station is not at its best, then the whole restaurant is not gonna succeed. And I kind of want to add something to that too, where one of my personal pet peeves in the restaurant industry is when people say, "Oh, well, that's not my job." Well, it is your job. It's everybody's job. I feel like just because you're on a certain station and you have certain duties, if some of the duties aren't getting done, then you should step in and help the cook on the station. Because at the end of the day, you're learning something new and you're helping the restaurant succeed. And that's something I see in the front of the house too often, where certain positions will be like, "Well, this is not my job. I'm leaving. I did my 8 hours, I'm out." As it's kind of like that's not how it should be in the industry. We all, if one person goes down, everybody goes down. So we all should be there for each other as a team, and I think that's kind of the mentality that has to be kind of brought on in the industry. I think is teamwork, and if one fails, we all fail. So that's kind of I think a good perspective to put it on. Chef Lamb, what's your view?
Well, I love this topic, and you just mentioned Chef Ali mentioned says management is the problem and also could be the solution, right? And the way I look at it is, as a chef, you create a philosophy and principle. That's what I have done throughout my journey in life. And working at the Ritz, you know, we have this motto: ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. And I share that. I mentor my kids with that. And why? Because it's something that right off the bat is that's who your guest is, with ladies and gentlemen. And right now in today's society, that doesn't exist at all because you need to have a pupil from that cloth who understands that and create a hybrid. That's one thing when you become a manager. The beauty is you got a clean sheet. Now you're going to say, okay, what are your cores, right? And my core are, first thing, professionalism, respect, sanitation, and safety. These four principles are in the culinary hospitality industry. Do people talk about it? No, they don't talk about that. In the martial arts, body, mind, spirit. It's not about you destroying your opponent. It's what the body, mind, and spirit does when there's a situation that you have to make a decision. So for me, I enjoy mentoring mentees. Is it heartbroken? Absolutely. Because you're dealing with a maverick, because no one exposed them of, hey, what love is. And we don't have too many of those in today's society, and that's why our industry is such turn upside down. But the beauty of it is that's where you come in. That's why you're in the industry, because you're like, yeah, I'll take it on. Because as I move up from sous chef, to chef de cuisine, to banquet chef, to executive sous chef, now I become executive chef, now I become corporate chef. Now you're able to create your core values. And now you lead by example.
Yeah, leading by example is definitely the best way to do it. And you know, if the chef isn't doing what he's supposed to do, why would the cooks do what they're supposed to do? You know, it's kind of where it has to start from the top. If the chef is leading by example, is making sure everything that he's doing is within line of the standards, and the rest of the team will be motivated to do so as well. Whereas if you see the chef in the office the whole time during service, it's kind of like you're not motivated. So it's, I think, as a chef, being there, being present, and being willing to help wherever is very, very important. So thank you so much for that, Chef Lamb. Um, it's important to recognize the problem at hand, and not stay silent, but make a change. Being in the hospitality industry, it is so important to work with a team that feels like family and will encourage and motivate you when it's needed. Oftentimes, people we work with, we spend more time with than our family members ourselves. So it's important to kind of feel safe in that environment. What is the best way to promote a positive and healthy work environment? And what does the ideal kitchen environment look like to you? Chef Ali, you want to get us started with that one?
It all comes down to communication. Everything is about communicating, briefing. People have to get involved. I always think of John F. Kennedy back in the 60s, where he always told everyone, stop asking what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Right now, we're in a very broken system. And instead of asking what you can do for me, what can I do for you? What can I change? How can I get involved and make changes? We're so broken. Over 50% of the food is left on the farm. It's just falling off the trees because they don't have pickers. We're in a processed society. If we do get fruits and vegetables that are fresh, it's lost over 60% of its nutritional value. Why? Because we're GMOs, we're picking it too early, no vitamins and nutrients and sugars are growing into the fruits and vegetables. So how can we make this change? How can we change our society, our environment? We can't just sit there and watch basically the parade go by and the food industry just crash. So bring passion, but bring it in through your heart. Go out there, force it upon the industry, find a way, be a spokesperson, be a leader. Don't be a follower. And that's why I tell a lot of these young students that keep coming up and they want to follow and they want to say, okay, teach me. I'm going to teach you, but I need you to go and pass that along. And right now, we're not eating food that's fresh. We're eating processed. I mean, chicken breasts that are 2 pounds. I mean, I never heard of that growing up. Salmon swam upstream to build up body. Now fish is growing in a circle, no body, no technique. I mean, everything is just falling apart. I mean, there's no more marbling in half the steaks you see out there anymore. So how are we going to make this change? You know, and I don't believe in local, as everyone says. I believe in the world. We used to get food from South America. We used to get during the winter seasons. Now we don't get it from them, so we're hurting their economy. These people used to make $1 a day, and they're starving. So think about globally. Don't just think about locally. Think about how we're going to help the world. How are we going to succeed? How are we going to make it better? We're leaders. Just as if we're a doctor, food is at the center of everything we do in this world. We have to eat. It inspires us. It's a passion that everyone has. Different cultures, from Middle Eastern to Mediterranean to the Pacific Rim, we all have the same common foundation, and it's food, and that brings us together as a society.
Exactly. And I never thought of it from that perspective of, like you said, globally, and how just purchasing ingredients from a different country could impact the lives of them, their livelihood, the way, they sell their products is how they eat. It's how they're able to afford just one meal a day sometimes in some certain countries. So that definitely makes a huge difference. So thank you so much, Chef, for that perspective. Noreen or Chef Lamb?
Yeah, I love that you started with communication. I think that is at the core of everything. And in our age, like in the age of the world now, where globalization is so rampant, and we've never seen it this quickly, this wide before in human history. Communication is going to be at the center of everything, right next to food, because that's how we connect as humans. is through food, through tradition, and through communication. And when it comes to positive and healthy work environment, I like to go back to it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. So respect comes is a big player in that as well. You can say, get me another tub of watermelon radish now. Or you can say, can you please grab me my backup radish? And that's different. And creating that little bit of a difference can change the mood and can change the positivity in the work environment. And now we have people from different backgrounds and different places and this robust global network. So how we communicate with each other is very important. I really like that you brought that to the forefront, Chef Ali.
Yeah, thank you so much, Noreen, for that. We only have a few more minutes left, so I'm gonna let Chef Lamb kind of comment on his perspective.
Well, you know what? The word I use is love. When you're going into the industry, you have to start loving yourself first before you could give amazing hospitality service or cook that amazing scrambled egg or make that BLT or make that clam chowder. Someone has to show you what love is. And for me, I was shown that throughout my journey in life. Because if no one showed me, I wouldn't know, oh, so this is what it should taste like. So, you know, Chef Ali mentioned global. You have to have an open mind, open heart, open ears. Completely. Once those are open in the world, now you become the student.
Yeah, I can agree more. Having an open mind and open heart with food is extremely important, you know, because certain cultures do certain things for a reason, and not closing your eyes towards certain techniques or certain ingredients is super important and could enhance your food and enhance what you put on the plate. So it's super, super important. Thank you so much, Chef Lamb. So um, jumping in kind of to the next question, what is the most rewarding part of your job? Is there a specific moment where you have seen your work directly impact someone's lives, either in a positive or a negative way? Chef Ali, you want to start us off?
I could choose 1,000 different scenarios on this, but you know, I was just coming off a hotel restaurant recently in the last year, and you would see people come in for their anniversaries and they don't expect anything. And for you just to go in the back, make a quick cake, make a special dish, knowing that they're going to come in, or you ask them, what's your favorite meal? They go lamb. And then you prepare a lamb dish for them and take it out to them. Or just meet people on the street and they recognize you. They recognize what you do, and they can come up and shake your hand and thank you. So it's the gratitude that comes back. So everything that you give, you're getting back. And I really love just giving. It's that's why we're in this industry. It's not just the passion of food, it's the giving of food. Okay? We're giving them an experience, as I said before, and that's why we're in this. And that's what I try to teach our team members. They're not employees, they're not staff members, they're team members. We're all a part of a team. We're not here to compete. And when we can share that with other people and give back, that's why we're here in the industry. We're not to say, oh man, another plate. Oh, come on. 10 o'clock, who just walked in? Get out of here. You know, when you think negative vibes are gonna come out. And I always say what you think is what you create. So this is all about giving back.
Exactly. And I could comment, like you said, on so many different stories, as well as on good things and bad things that have happened through my work and other people's work that I see. And a quick example is like this lady came in by herself for her birthday, and you know, she was just sitting there at the bar and didn't really have anybody to talk to, you know, just encouraging her, you know, talking with her, making conversation and giving her a flower. And that flower, she said, made her day. You know, it's the simple things that kind of make people's day and you never know. So that's why it's important to, you know, always treat people in that way. So thank you so much, Chef. Noreen?
Yeah, just I'm someone who comes into the workplace. I smile, I say hello to everyone. I try to be very positive. And I've noticed that makes a big difference in my coworkers. I think my coworkers and front of house team, our stewarding team, they're always like, "You're so nice." And every time you say hello, it makes me feel better. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so glad that I can bring positivity and give it to other people while we're here. It's a thankless job, and thank you goes a long way. And I think that that difference I've seen makes me feel good too, and that positivity just circulates, and I love that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Noreen. Chef Lamb.
Well, what I love is a young lady who happens to be in high school, and I taught her the skills of preparation methods and techniques. And I watched her, and now she was like a samurai sword. She was like so quick, so fast, with confidence. And to me, that is what our industry is about in the kitchen. When you show them the proper way, the right way of how to complete a task, and you see them and they smile. And because think about it, when you're holding a knife, confidence, self-esteem, very important. So that's what makes my day in this industry. You know, when you see someone and they make it better than you, and that's why I go,
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most rewarding parts, being able to see the fruits of your labor. You know, someone that you help out become, if not equal, better than you. And that's why we mentor. That's why we teach, so the next generation can become better. And you know, it's rewarding, very rewarding. So we have about a minute left to kind of finish it off. Chef Ali, what is one last piece of advice that you might have for hospitality professionals, and what can they do to kind of keep their heads up in the industry?
I say give back, go back into the industry, help make the change. With the new presidential candidates coming into place, I'm hoping that they make some changes with the CDC and we make some big changes in our food industry. Stop wasting food. Let's find better ways of growing food. Once it's grown in a GMO farm, you can't go back. We have to make these changes. Find other ways besides pesticides. What can we do so that we can eat healthier and pass that on to future generations?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chef. This call will not only impact the ones listening, but will impact those that are connected to them. So here on this call, we have made history and helped lead the way for our future.